You ever see one of those slick business dashboards and just wonder, how? How do companies possibly turn all that messy, chaotic data into these clean, powerful insights? Well, that's the secret journey we're going to take today, from raw data to real, game-changing decisions.
So really, how do we get from that tangled mess of information coming from databases, files, real-time streams, to this, a crystal clear dashboard that actually tells the story? I'll tell you right now, it's not magic. It's a seriously well thought out process.
The best way I found to think about it is like a data refinery. You're taking in all this crude, messy raw material, you're running it through a really sophisticated process, and what comes out the other end is a high-value, totally purified product. So let's walk through that whole thing, step by step.
And our journey kicks off right here, at what you could call the intake plant. See, before we can do literally anything else, we have to get all that raw data from all over the business into one central place and give it a kind of initial cleaning. Think about it. A business has data coming from everywhere. You've got your day-to-day transactional databases just chugging along. You have static files like spreadsheets all over the place. And you even have data streaming in constantly, in real time. So this ingestion step, it's all about gathering this stuff up, whether it's in big batches or as a continuous flow.
Now, one of the classic ways to process all this data is something called ETL. It's kind of like a three-step dance. First, you extract the data from wherever it lives. Then you transform it, cleaning it up, filtering out the junk, changing its structure, and finally, you load it into your big storage system. Simple, right?
But hold on, there's a modern twist on this. ELT. See what happened there? The letters flipped. We extract the data, we load it raw into our system, and then we transform it. And this is a huge trend, mostly because our modern data systems are just so incredibly powerful, it's often way more efficient to do all that heavy lifting transformation right where the data is already stored.
Okay, so we've pulled our data in. Now we need somewhere to put it. So, welcome to the refinery's tank farm. This is the spot where we store all our data before the final, super detailed analysis happens.
The traditional storage tank is the good old data warehouse. The best way to picture it is like a perfectly organized library where every single book has a specific, pre-assigned spot on a shelf. This rigid structure, or schema, is awesome for asking specific business questions and getting fast answers.
But what if your data isn't so neat and tidy? What if it's messy? Well, that's where a data lake comes in. A data lake is all about one thing: flexibility. It can hold absolutely massive amounts of data in any format you can imagine. Structured numbers, messy text, images, whatever, all in its raw, native form.
So here's the real difference boiled down. A warehouse is schema on write. Just like that library, you have to decide where the book goes before you put it on the shelf. A lake is schema on read. You just dump all your books in a big pile and only decide how to organize them when you're actually looking for something. The question is, do you structure it first or do you structure it later?
And of course, the world is never that simple. Today, we're seeing this new hybrid approach pop up called the data lakehouse, and the goal is pretty clear. It's trying to give you the flexible, low-cost storage of a data lake, but with the powerful, structured, analytical features of a data warehouse. Really, the best of both worlds.
All right, we've got our data stored, but honestly, it's still pretty crude stuff. Now we move to step 3, the real refinement. This is where we start shaping that data into a high-value product that's perfectly tuned for analysis.
We do this by building something called an analytical data model. And the goal here is super simple. We pre-calculate and pre-organize the data so that when a business user comes along and wants to create a report or a chart, all the hard work is already done. It just makes everything faster and way easier for the person who needs the insight.
Now, you'll often hear this model called a cube, which sounds way more complicated than it is. Just imagine you want to see your total sales. Okay, that's your number. But what if you want to slice and dice that number by different things? By product, by region, over time? A cube pre-organizes all of that, so you can easily drill down for more detail or drill up for the bigger picture. So, we've ingested, stored, and modeled our data. We're on the home stretch. Now it's time for the final and maybe the most important step: delivering that finished product to the people who are actually going to use it to make decisions. And this final product, it can take a bunch of different forms. It might be a classic printed report, or maybe a simple chart you'd see in a presentation. But most of the time these days, it's a dynamic, web-based dashboard where people can actually click around and explore the data for themselves.
And this is why we do all of this work.
The ultimate goal of this entire data refinery is to create visuals that clearly show trends, let you make meaningful comparisons, and track those all-important key performance indicators, the KPIs, that tell a business whether it's winning or losing.
And there you have it. We've completed the journey. We started with this absolute mess of raw data from dozens of places, and by running it through our refinery, ingesting, storing, modeling, and visualizing, we've managed to turn that chaos into clarity. We've literally turned raw data into decisive action.
And that just leaves us with one final thought. What we just walked through, that's the data refinery that powers business today. But as data gets bigger and faster and way more complex, what kind of refinery are we going to need to build for the data of tomorrow?